Okay, welcome everybody. What we are doing here today, we are doing lesson 8 in unit number 3, and this is dissolving metals. And if you look onto student your student pages here, it's on page 103 through 105. Okay, 103 will tell us about our safety procedures, and obviously you can see I'm decked out again to make sure that I don't spill any of this solutions or materials on me that can be a little bit corrosive. So I want to make sure that we're safe at all times. What we are going to do today, it's dissolving metals a little differently than the experiment that we just did. Won't be as exciting, I'm going to tell you right now. What's going to happen, it's what we're going to do. We're going to take 3 different types of metals. We're going to put them in these 3 cups right here, and we're going to mix them in with the solution, a solution which is born out of this. This is called Root Eater. All right. And what it does, it kills roots that get around pipes that can cause damage to pipes. And what the chemical is in the Root Eater is copper sulfate pentahydrate. And that's what we're going to be working to use in order to see how it reacts with these metals and what happens. Now, what's going to happen as I put these in, it's not going to be as easy to see. It's not going to be as noticeable as that last experiment where we saw the explosion and we saw, the lighting of a burned out candle or a burned out match. Again, it's going to be much less volatile. So I'm going to have to explain in case we just can't see it. So I'll kind of, as I go through it, make sure you're putting down in your sheet on the observation section what I'm telling you, so you can have a good idea of what you can use as we go forward. Okay, what I've already done, I have my 20 milliliters of water here. I'm going to pour that into a cup, and then what I'm going to do quickly, and I'm going to let this dissolve as we go through. And as you can see, I'm going to get this out of here with a spoon. Okay, I'm only going to need a pinch. But this is copper sulfate pentahydrate. It is blue in color. It is blue in color. All right, I'm going to dissolve this with the water. And pour it in there, and I'm going to dissolve this with the water. Okay, and give me some time as we go through this. Mix it up, do this work. And you can't see it, and I'll show you in a little bit, but as we're going through this, the water is turning bluish, so I'm getting a blue solution. And that's important because we're going to have that question on the analysis part later on when you do your work. So we're going to create a bluish solution. Now, in my containers here, in my glasses, cups, I'm going to put 3 different metals. This right here is aluminum foil. You can see it's silver aluminum foil, straight out of the pantry. I'm going to put that one right in there. I have a very shiny, and take note of that, it's a very shiny galvanized nail. Remember, we used this galvanized nail as a form of zinc in the last experiment. And I also have a copper wire. Okay, it's a little bit different. This is a bronzish color, a gold, kind of a shiny brown color, bronze, the color of copper. We're going to put that right in there. Okay. Now I'm going to show you this solution. It hasn't completely dissolved. I might have put a little bit too much Root Eater in there, but you can see it's a very bluish solution against the white lab coat. You can see that it's blue. Okay, it's a blue solution, and we're going to be putting this using our eyedropper into these. This is a pipette, and you can use an eyedropper any which way you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on to each of the different metals and see what happens. Okay. Again, it's not going to be as exciting as the last one, but we'll go through. First, I'm going to do the aluminum foil. Okay. I'm going to do all 3 at the same time. I'm going to make sure I get enough on there and get some coverage on it so we can see what happens to the liquid. Okay. I'm actually going to, I'm going to move this down for you so you can see a little bit better. There we go. Now you can get a look at what I'm doing. Okay, you can see I'm just taking the pipette, making sure I pour it on to the aluminum foil. So you get a nice little thing. I don't want to get too much, okay? Next one, again, I'm making sure that as I do this, I'm really hitting the metal. I'm not just putting it in the cup. I want to get it around the metal. Okay, that should be good for that one. I'll put a little bit more in there just to be safe. Make sure we cover it. And then we'll do the last one, the copper. It's copper wire. Remember, we're using copper sulfate pentahydrate. So you can make some predictions of what you think is going to happen. Okay, and as you can see, it's not as volatile as our last one. Okay? But we'll give this a couple of minutes. And as we go through this, know that anytime we have a solution of a chemical, it's going to react with metal. Metal is a reactive substance. Many are. And it depends on what kind of acid or base we use as to how it's going to react. In this case, with the copper sulfate pentahydrate, what we're seeing is, I'm going to try and get you a close-up here. This is the aluminum foil. And what we're seeing on top of the aluminum, and it's really tough to see with the glare and the glass, but we're seeing chunks of substance, like a metally brownish substance forming on the top of the liquid. Okay, it's not big chunks. They're really small, but they're kind of going into the liquid from there. Okay, on our metal nail, let's see if we can't move this over to this side so you can see it a little bit better. You'll be able to see that it's really not as shiny as it used to be, is it? Okay, it's some of that galvanized silver has really worn off. Again, a lot of chunks of brown substance in the liquid. You're getting chunks of tannish stuff in there. Okay, and we'll see as we go on. And the copper, well, copper looks pretty much the same, doesn't it? Okay. Remember, we're using copper and copper sulfate pentahydrate, so maybe that has something to do with it. Okay, but it hasn't really made much of a difference. Okay, so we're going to give it about another minute here, minute or two, and I'll let you kind of watch. Again, it's hard to see, but we're just seeing that different chunks of things are moving in and out. We'll make sure we get this into the liquid there a little bit more, into the solution, I should say. Okay, and in your observations, you can note what I said to you. You can note that I said that there's brown, chunky material forming on the surface of the metals. It's also in the liquid. All right. As you can see, the liquid is starting to change color a little bit. Okay. Where the metal is coming off, you'll see in this one, the metal's coming off. It really doesn't have that blue tint to it anymore. It's more of a brownish color. I don't know if you can see that nail. Let me see if I can get it out of here. And again, I would only ever do this when I have gloves on, because this solution isn't fun to play with. Obviously, I'd clean this whole thing up. But you can see, remember how the metal was very, very shiny silver at the beginning? Look at it now. So obviously, some sort of reaction has taken place. And if you can see in that water, I'm trying to get in there, it's a very, very chunky type material. Black chunks in the bottom of this. Let's see if you can see it that way a little bit more. Let's get this nail out of here again. Okay. You can see there, it's really got a different. It's not as blue as it used to be. You got this chunky material in the bottom. Okay, that's what happened in that one. The same thing To a lesser extent has happened in the glass jar and the aluminum. It's chunky material. It's not as prevalent. It's not as noticeable in this one as before. Obviously, you can see it. This here, the solution of copper sulfate pentahydrate is now much clearer than when it was at the beginning, when it was a bluish tint. And here in the copper solution, you can see it really hasn't done anything to the copper at all. Again, you wouldn't be putting your hands in here, but since it's tough to see, that's why I'm doing it. And obviously I have gloves on, so it's safe for me. All right, you can see that the copper looks the same as it did when we first put it in. And the solution has also remained blue. Okay, so what you're going to do from here, you're going to take this information, whatever you put in that observation sheet on page 104, and you're going to take that information and answer the 5 questions on page 105 as well as the conclusion to see if you can come up with an idea of where we are and how this experiment worked, and answer some of our questions. Our teachers will go over it when we can, hopefully this Friday. If not, we'll get into it next week. But I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day working this out, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks.